Hey BookTube, it's Nick. I know the angle is a little bit different today. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be going through all my bookshelves and seeing how many books I have that I've read and how many I have that I haven't read. I know I have tons of unread books on my shelf, but I want to know just what that ratio is. Now I have two bookshelves, so that's four. I have two bookshelves, so I'm gonna start on this one because this is kind of my favorite shelf and majority of these are read. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, unread favorites, but I just have mostly series on this shelf, so they are like favorite authors or just favorite series. Some of them I haven't completed yet, but I'm working on it. I know this angle is really weird. I'm gonna start on the bottom shelf so that we can adjust this because this is a horrible angle, but we are right next to the floor. So first up, I have Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. I have not read this. It's very big. I want to eventually read all of it someday, but I mean, it's also just kind of to have, so haven't read it yet. Next up we have the Percy Jackson series. Of course I have read all of these, however I have not read Percy Jackson's Greek Gods, so I'll read that soon, but the actual series I have, so that's 5 that I have read and 1 that I have not for these. These next 2 I actually am going to unhaul because I got them off of Thrift Books and I didn't know that they were coming without a cover. One of them was my fault because I just didn't look close enough, but one of them was supposed to come with a cover and it didn't, and they ended up giving me a refund, which was really nice of them. But it's The Lost Hero and Mark of Athena, and I have read both of these books, so I'm gonna donate these. And I actually already got a new copy of Mark of Athena with the cover and everything, so I read these. I'm gonna unhaul them. Next up is Son of Neptune, which I have read. Another copy of Mark of Athena, which I'm only gonna count this book once because this is just replacing the other one, but I am gonna count The Lost Hero because I don't have another physical copy of that quite yet, and I have read it. Next I have The House of Hades and The Blood of Olympus, which I've actually started this one and haven't finished it yet, and I haven't read this one, so I'm currently in the middle of Mark of Athena, so these are next, and I'm definitely finishing them this time. After that I have all 3 books of the Kane Chronicles, also by Rick Riordan, and that is The Red Pyramid, The Throne of Fire, and The Serpent Shadow. I have not read any of these. I should probably mention that. I've started The Red Pyramid, but again, I started it when I was like in my several year-long reading slump, so I'm gonna start these after I finish the Heroes of Olympus, probably. After that, I have the Trials of Apollo, the Hidden Oracle. This is the first book in the series, and I have not read this yet because I do want to finish Heroes of Olympus first, because as far as I know, this takes place after. Then I have the 3 books in the Magnus Chase series, The Sword of Summer, The Hammer of Thor, and Ship of the Dead. And I have not read any of these because I do, again, want to finish Heroes of Olympus. I don't know when this takes place in direction to those. I know that the main character, Magnus Chase, is Annabeth Chase's cousin, I think. But I know it's like, this deals with Norse gods, so I don't know where the timeline merges. Along with that, I do have the 9 Worlds by Rick Riordan, and this is part of the Magnus Chase series, so obviously I haven't read this yet. The last 2 on the bottom shelf are both from Rick Riordan's Presents, and that is Arusha and the End of Time and The Storm Runner. I have not read either of these. I started this in my slump, so I'm gonna restart these at some point, not directly relating to when I work on the other Percy Jackson books because these are completely different, so I'll just pick these up at some point. Okay, slightly better angle. I'm gonna go ahead and just jump to the top real quick because this is the only book I have on the top shelf, and that's just because I don't have anywhere to put this. This is huge and I don't know where it's gonna go quite yet. So that is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and I have not read this yet. It's a little intimidating, I'm not gonna lie, but I do want to start it really, really soon because I am always in a fantasy mood, and I've just heard really good things about this. Some mixed, but overall I've heard really good things, so I'm super, super excited to start this. Jumping down to this shelf, I have all of the books in the Throne of Glass series, and I have read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, and I started Empire of Storms, but I never ended up finishing it, so I'm actually in the middle of a reread of the series, and I'm starting with the Assassin's Blade, so I'm reading this one for the first time, so technically it's still unread, so is Empire of Storms. which means that I also have not yet read Tower of Dawn or Kingdom of Ash. I am switching sides real quick because I just figured this would be a little bit easier. Next up, I have all 4 books in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, being A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Wings and Ruin, and A Court of Frost and Starlight, and I have read all of these. After that, I have King of Scars, which of course I have read, and Six of Crows and Cookie Kingdom, which of course I have read both of them. For the first time, you get to see my other shelf. This is actually the first shelf that I got when I moved into this apartment, and I really like it because I like the color. It's really hardy. And I don't think you can see it yet, but you'll see very quickly that I have everything double stacked, which this was completely full, which is why I got the black one over there. But for now, this is just where all of my other books are. And I do kind of have it in an attempt of a rainbow. I am missing 2 books from the shelf because I am letting my friend borrow them, but we'll get into that. Okay, starting from the bottom shelf, I don't know how I'm gonna do this because everything is double stacked, so it's just gonna be really out of order, but I'm actually going to be taking all of these books off and putting them into piles because I do want to rearrange my shelves anyway, and I just want to kind of go through and see all the books that I have because I am planning on doing an unhaul because I am actually most likely moving into the room across the hall. My roommate is moving out and her room is a little bit bigger, so I am taking that one before my new roommate moves in. Starting on this bottom shelf, I have Wonder Woman, which I have not read, Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix, which I also have read. Don't roast me. I've only finished the first 3 books and I've started the second one. I'm an idiot. And I've started the 4th one twice, but again, it was during my slump, so I'm going to try again with Harry Potter because I really want to push through because I really do think that I'm going to love the whole series because I did genuinely enjoy the first 3 books so much. So for now, this one is unread. After that, I have King's Cage, which I have read, Warstorm, which I have not read. I got this right when it came out, but it had already been quite a while since I had read the original 3 books, so I do want to do a reread before I jump into this one because I forget a lot that's happened. Catwoman, which I have not read, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which I have read, The Beauty That Remains, which I also have read, and this is actually an ARC that I got from Barnes & Noble when I used to work there, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which I have read, Red Queen, which I have read, another ARC, and this is How to Walk Away, which I started. I grabbed it off of the ARC shelf at work when I was working at Barnes & Noble and started reading it on my lunch break, and it sounded really interesting, so I brought it home with me and haven't touched it since. I don't have anything back here. I think this is the only square that I don't have it double stacked, so I'm gonna move on to this one. I have The Last Wish, which I have not read, The Night Circus, which I started and have not finished, The Hate You Give, which I have read, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which like I said, I started twice, haven't finished it, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, obviously have not read this one, An Ember in the Ashes, which I am actually currently reading, and I'm buddy reading this with Simply Sarah, and so I haven't finished it yet, but almost there. The Poppy War, which is another ARC that I have not read yet. On the Come Up, which I have read. A Darkest Shade of Magic, which I read like the first 2 chapters of this for Fantasy Adventure-thon, and I failed Fantasy Adventure-thon, so haven't read this. I do plan on picking it up eventually. I got kind of put in a slump, and I just don't think it was the right time for me to read this, but I definitely want to give this another chance, so for now, it's unread. And the only thing back here are my Star Wars books, which all of them are unread, so fake fan. But I have Bloodline, A Certain Point of View, Choices of One, and The Courtship of Princess Leia. Slightly better angle now. I have An Enchantment of Ravens, which I have read, Furyborn, which I have not read, Talon, which I have not read. I actually got this at a used bookstore, and I don't really know what it's about, so Batman, which I also have not read. The Dog Who Danced, which I started a couple years ago. My mom got this for me for like Valentine's Day or something one year, and I want to finish it, so at some point, but it's not read yet. Legend, which I actually got my mom right before she got me this one, and she read it and she liked it, and then she gave it to me, and haven't read it yet. Another book I got at the used bookstore, and that is the Unremembered, and I genuinely don't know what this is about. I've tried reading the back of it like multiple times and I don't really know what it's about. I think it has pretty bad reviews on Goodreads, but Brandon Sanderson said it was a fine debut, so I do want to give it a chance, but my expectations are very low. I Am Legend, another used bookstore buy. I love the movie, wanted to read the book, haven't yet. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, not read. The Hobbit, which I'm about to expose myself because I say all the time how much I love Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and I haven't finished the books yet, so go ahead and roast me. That's fine. I literally have the Hobbit hole tattooed on my leg, but I haven't read the freaking book yet. I've started it twice, and I just don't think I've been in the right headspace, and I think I might need to read the actual Lord of the Rings books first, even though this one was published first, maybe just to get used to his writing style, because I am a bit more familiar with the story of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Yeah, shaming myself here. Haven't read these. Next up, I have Ignite Me, which I have read, and along with this, I'm gonna say that I do have Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and what's it called? The little novella. What is it, like Destroy Me or something like that? Or is that just one of them? I don't know. It's the novella thing. I have all of the Shatter Me books, so they're all read. I did not read Adam's novella though, because oh, sorry, my ring light turned off. I didn't read Adam's novella because I don't care about him at all. So moving on to the back, I have Welcome to Night Vale, which haven't read yet. Everless, which I also have not read yet. Julius Caesar, which I was supposed to read for school and I didn't. I just used SparkNotes for the whole thing, and then I ended up writing my best friend's paper on Julius Caesar, even though I had not read it myself. Haven't read it, but I do want to. I want to read it eventually. Sonnets, which I feel like I read all of these at some point, like when I first bought this, but I'm not 100% sure, so I honestly might not even count this one because I don't remember if I've ever read it or not. I've had it for it's been at least 10 years, maybe like 10 to 13 years. Another arc is Anger is a Gift, which I have not read. The last two are also arcs that I have not read, and that is Ash Princess and Love, Hate, and Other Filters, which this was actually the first arc that I ever picked up at work, like when I first started working there, and haven't gotten to it yet. I want to eventually because it seems really cool. I started it. I read like the first 2 chapters and I really liked it. I just didn't continue because I'm trash. My pile is literally now in camera view. This is so pathetic. I already have 3 piles of unread books and only 1 pile of read books. On to the last cubicle, The Little Fires Everywhere, which I have not read yet. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which I have read, and this is my favorite of the ones I've read so far. Restore Me, which I have read. Fallen Kingdoms, which I have not read. Rebel of the Sands, also haven't read. Norse Mythology, nope. Glass Sword, have read this. Torch Against the Night, haven't read yet, but it's soon. We Are Okay, have read this. I already explained earlier, have not read this yet, Lord of the Rings, but look at how pretty this one is. And because I'm trash, I already have other copies of all 3 of the books, so yep. Along with that, I do have Return of the Shadow, which is like a history of Lord of the Rings. I don't really know if this is supposed to be like just info or stories or mixture of both. I don't know, I get it at the used bookstore. Look, it has Tolkien's name on it. I buy it. I'm a simple person. The next 2, I don't really know anything about these, but I saw this at the used bookstore and I thought it was the most gorgeous cover I had ever seen. It's called Sybil's Secret, and it actually had surprisingly good reviews on Goodreads. So this is like a spin-off of this book that I bought off of Amazon called Wildwood Dancing, which this cover is actually like it's on the cover. There's no sleeve like this one, so like that kind of sucks, but it's still really pretty. So I want to start these because the reviews are good, and it's like, I mean, just look at these. That just looks like something that I would enjoy. Haven't read them yet though. All right, the last 2 books is The Dog Walker, which I got for like 90 cents at a used bookstore. The Goodreads reviews are trash, but I still really want to read it. And last and not least, I have, oh no, not last, I have another pile. Not last, Coraline, which I have read. I listened to the audiobook and I really enjoyed it, but I listened to it when I was traveling and I feel like I didn't really get the full effect, so I decided not to read it. And so I wanted to read it physically, even though the audiobook was very, very good. And I wanted the pretty black cover because I don't like the mass market paperback. But that's what you get for paying $3 on eBay. It's kind of like really busted, but I have read this. Okay, the next pile I have actually is kind of like in a possibly unhaul pile, and I've read all of them except for 2. But in that pile I have Cruel Crown, which is a part of the Red Queen series. I haven't read either of the novellas in this, and the only reason that I'm unhauling it is because Broken Throne is about to come out, which has these 2 novellas in it, plus I think 3 additional ones. So if I reread Red Queen series and I still enjoy it, then I'll just get Broken Throne. Anyway, haven't read this. I lied, I've read all but 3 of these books in this pile. Now, y'all don't come for me in the comment section because I was planning on unhauling these, but that is the Raven Cycle series. I've read the first 3 books. I've actually read this one twice, and I've been working on getting through the series on audiobooks because the narrator is actually really, really good, but I just genuinely don't enjoy this series. I think I gave the first 2 books 3 stars each, and I gave Blue Lily, Lily Blue like 2.5 stars, and I kind of felt like that was a little generous, which, like, this is the favorite one. It seems like that seems to be the general consensus, and I just, nothing happened. Like, I get the characters, like I understand, like, that's probably why people love the series, because they are genuinely good characters, but I just don't really understand what's going on in these books at all. It feels like there's no plot. So I do want to still listen to the audiobook for this one so I can just go ahead and finish the series, because I've already read the first 3. There's only one more. Like, I might as well just finish it out and then have like an opinion about all of them. So I really, really want to enjoy this one. Like, I don't want to hate it, or else I wouldn't waste my time with it. But yeah, I've read 3 of these, and 1 of these I haven't, and yeah, don't roast me. The next 2 books I have read, and I actually used to consider both of these like my 2 favorite books of all time, but I do think that if I went back and reread them now, I probably wouldn't feel the same way, and so I just don't see myself rereading them, so I'm considering unhauling them, but that's for another video. I don't know, I may or may not, but that is Everyday and Will Grayson, which I actually have a long, complicated history with John Green, as in I do not like him or his writing at all. And even in this book, I'm not crazy about his chapters, but I really loved David Levithan's chapters, and I adored this book. This was like the book that I said that everybody should read. I don't know if like I'd still say that, but yeah, these both used to mean so much to me, so I don't know if I can actually like get myself to get rid of them, but both of these are read. That's not the point of this video. Next up is The Darkest Minds, which I read the first couple chapters of, but I just wasn't into it. I don't really like dystopian that much. Like, I love The Hunger Games, and at one point I liked Divergent, but I don't anymore, and Shatter Me is like all characters and no plot, so that barely counts as dystopian, so I'm not gonna finish this, so it's unread. Next up is Linger, and I got rid of my copy of Shiver a long time ago because I also have it on my Kindle. Felt like I didn't need 2 copies, so I've read this. And the last one that I'm finally going to talk about, I started and read not quite half of it, but a decent chunk of it, but I never finished it, and I probably never will, and that is Zenith, which I feel bad because I really want to support a fellow booktuber, but oh, if my ring light could stop turning off, that'd be great. Anyway, I don't see myself ever finishing this, so it will remain unread. This is just absolutely shameful. I have 4 piles of unread books and just 1 tall pile of read books, and this is not including my favorite shelf. Alright, to be honest, I don't feel like doing the math right now, so I will put the numbers of read versus unread books at the bottom. I'm probably going to be very ashamed of myself, so sorry you can get like the full reaction right now, but just know that I already feel very ashamed. Thanks so much for sticking with this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.